In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to create stock charts in Microsoft Excel that change dynamically based on whether the stock is up since the beginning or down. So if it's up, it'll show green, and if it's down, it'll show a red highlight. So I'm going to show you how we can set up this template so that it will work dynamically, where you just enter in the stock ticker and everything else is going to update. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is create a field for the actual ticker symbol. So I'm going to use Apple as my starting value here. I'm just going to highlight it here, highlight the cell, type in Apple. And here is where I'm going to pull in the stock price. So I'm going to use Excel's stock history function for this. I'm going to reference the stock ticker here in B1. And my start date is going to be 365 days back. So to do that, I'm going to use the today function, which grabs today's date, but then I'm going to subtract 365 to go back a full year. So you can obviously adjust this depending on how far back you want to go. The end date is going to be today. So today, open and close parentheses. So this is a dynamic function. It's automatically going to pull in today's date. And now I'm going to close this out, and it's going to pull in all the stock prices going back a year. Now, it's not necessarily going to be perfect up until today's date, just because the stock history function doesn't include the current day if it hasn't been closed, because as the name suggests, it's a stock history function, not the current stock price, but the historical stock prices. Now, if I want to look at the actual movements of the stock, then I don't want to just look at the closing value. Instead, I want to look at the percent change. And so to do this, I'm going to start at the second cell here. So it's 212.44. And then what I'm going to do is use the equal sign to take this value and divide it by the starting value here and subtract 1. And I'm going to freeze B4 because that is my starting value. And so that tells me that's a 2% change. And so I can add some decimal points here, and I'm going to copy this down because what I want is this percent change to be showing is the year to date, or since the beginning of this, what my change is. So if I copy this down, you can see that it's automatically always going to be looking back at that starting value. So it's comparing this value versus this one. So if I go to the very end here, this is June 30th. So that's comparing this value versus the start. So it's saying since the beginning of that, so going back a year, it's up about 39%. So this is what I want to show on my chart. Now, this would be sufficient to just create a chart showing the trend from the beginning of my period to the end. But I also want to do is have it dynamic so that if it's positive, it'll show green. If it's negative, it'll show red. So to do this, I'm going to create a couple of extra fields, one for a positive value and one for a negative value. So the idea being that if the gains are positive, then it'll fill in this field. Otherwise, it'll go into the negative one. But in order to determine that, I need to figure out whether the actual returns are positive or negative. So here I'm going to pull in what the current, or let's say the most recent value was. To do this, I'm going to use the lookup function, not VLOOKUP, but the lookup. This is an older function. And what I'm going to do is set it up so that it pulls in the last value in a range. So there's a number of ways you could do this. You could do this using the maxifs function, but using the lookup function, you can actually do this fairly easily. So I'm going to show you how. I'm going to look for a value of 2 because by doing this, it's going to look for the largest value. And then I'm going to look up the lookup vector. I'm going to type in 1 divided by my actual range. So I'm going to look up, it doesn't matter whether I look at A or B, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control Shift down to go to the end of my range here. So 254 from A4 to 254, I'm going to check that it's not a blank. So not equal to, so greater than and less than operators, and then put in quotes. So as long as it's not equal to a blank value, then I want to pull that out. So I'm going to do 1 divided by those values. I'm going to show you how it works in a second. And then my results are going to be in the corresponding column in column B. So B4 to B254. And this is important because I want to make sure I get the correct value relating to that last value. So if my formula is correct, I should get this value of 289.36 just because it is the last one. I'm going to hit enter. And so that is what I get here. So I'll show you how this works. So I go to evaluate formula, and how it's doing this is it's doing 1 divided by those values, so a true or false. So everything's going to be true if there is a value there. And so once that does, you can see it's going to compute 1 divided by 1 is going to be 1. So all these values are going to be 1. But because I'm looking for a value of 2, it's never going to be an exact match. So what it's going to do is just going to grab the last value. So that's how that works. So even though I don't actually find a 2, because it's unsuccessful, it's going to find the last value in that lookup list. So that's the trick in making this work, where we got that last value. And now by doing so, I can compare this most recent value versus this starting value to see, is it a positive or is it a negative return? And so this is a very simple formula here, because now all I'm doing is taking a look at, okay, if this value is greater than this starting value, then I know my return is positive. Otherwise, if it's not, then it's negative. So that's my check to say, okay, which column are my returns going to go into? Are they going to go in the positive or the negative? So because Apple's returns since the starting date are positive, then I wanted to fill in green and be in this positive field. So now I'm going to set up my formula here. So in this first value here, I've got this 2.22% right next to it. I'm going to set up an if statement to say, okay, if the value here in E1, and I'm going to freeze that because I want to make sure that it doesn't change, E1 is positive, then what I'm going to do is return the value from here in column C. So it's always going to be in column C. So freeze C5. Otherwise, I'm going to return an NA value. And that's important because if it's an NA value, if it's an error value, it's not going to show up on the chart. So that's the key reason why I want to use an NA, not just a 0. So I'm going to enter, and now you can see now it's filling that in. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to copy this, paste it over here, except this time instead of positive, I'm obviously going to look for negative. And so that gives me an NA, which is what I want. So now I can copy this all the way down. And there we go. So now I've got those filled in. And I'll also apply the % formatting just so it's consistent. 2 decimal places, center it. So now I've got my positive and negative set up. Now what I can do is actually plot this on a chart. So I'm going to go to Insert and open up the charts. And so for this, you can use a number of different charts. I'm going to use an area chart, but you can use a line chart, whatever you prefer. Click on OK. And so this is a very simple area chart here. I'm going to right click, select the data because I don't want the close. I don't want the percentage. I only want the positives or the negatives. I'm going to click on OK. And for my positive, that's already set to green. Perfect. For the negative, I'm going to select it on the legend here. Go to the Home tab and change it so it's a red fill color. So now I've got positive being green, negative being red. Now that I've got that, I can delete those because I don't want those to be showing up because obviously I know I'm looking at the actual return. Now, trick here for you. Right now I've got a chart title. I can key in my chart title, but instead of actually keying in, I want to link it to this ticker symbol right here. So if I select this title here, I'm going to type in an equal sign here and link to this value and hit enter. And now you can see now it's linking to whatever that is. So as you update the ticker symbol, this is going to update as well. So that's a really useful way as opposed to setting up a static title. You can make it dynamic. So it's going to be linked to this ticker symbol right here. So as you change it, it's going to update on here as well. So now that I've got that, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to format this axis. So I'm right click, format this axis because I want it to show as a percentage. So over here, you see all the options here for your labels. So down here for the number, you can see there's an option. I've got it right now set to general for a general number. So 0.6, 0.5. This is not really what I want to show. I want to show a percentage. And so by doing so, now I can see the percentages. I don't need 2 decimal places. So I'm just going to put 0. And so now I can easily see what that percent change is. I can see right around here is up around 50%. So that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. Now down here, I've got the dates. And so here, you may want to also adjust how this looks because this is not really very useful in looking at this. I mean, this is really cluttered. So to fix this, what I can do is I can format it down here as well. So you notice right now I've got month, day, and 4 letters for the year, which probably is not going to be necessary. What I would suggest doing is wiping this out and just typing in, let's say 3 characters for the month, space, 2 characters for the year. I'm going to click on add. So I fixed the layout here, but I don't want these to be showing up so many times. Right, I don't need November 2025, December 25 showing up multiple times. So I'm going to scroll up here, and here we've got the units. So right now I've got it set it to days. So the major units, I want it to set to months, and I'm going to set it 1 month at a time. And so now it's a much cleaner look. Now we've got a breakdown of 1 month at a time. We no longer see that clutter. So now with this set up, the next thing I can do is now test this out to see that it works with other ticker symbols. So I'm going to just add some highlighting here, some border for this. And so I'm going to change this to Microsoft MSFT, which has been down over the past year. So if I enter this, you'll see now it's updated. Now I've got that red area filled in. And right now I've got my labels, they're a bit hard to see just because it's negative. It crosses 0 value there. So I'm going to right click, format axis, and for the labels, I want to put, instead of next to axis, select low. And low is effectively putting it at the bottom. So that's what I want. So now it's a lot cleaner. And now I can see exactly the stock performance over the past year. What you may also want to do to clean this up further is on the view tab, get rid of the grid lines. And also for this chart, you may also want to get rid of the border. So I'm going to select no line, and now it blends in seamlessly with this. So you can adjust this accordingly as you want. And now you can see my chart title also automatically updated to Microsoft. So if I change this to other ticker symbols, let's say Meta Platforms, automatically updated NVIDIA, NVDA, everything updates nicely, and my stock chart is nice and dynamic.